Good morning. Welcome to the Dark Moon Mysteries podcast. I have Korin George today, and she's going to tell us all about her palmistry and all about her courses that she's running. Let's talk to Korin. Korin, how are you doing today?
Hi, Kate. I'm good, Kate. I'm good. Greetings from Australia. How is your weather up there?
Oh, it's not so bad. It's a bit chilly. We're having some chilly days, but the afternoons are glorious.
Oh, lovely, lovely,
And
lovely,
yourself, are
lovely.
you cold?
It is a bit cold today. The rain's passed, but there's just a bit of a bite in the air. Apparently, we had the coldest night for 2 years. Last night was 3.2 degrees. Was our
Okay.
coldest for
Okay. Yeah, you
by
laugh
Australian standards.
by Australia. You laugh at us when we get hot at 30 degrees, but I've been to Australia, and you're a dry heat. We're a sweaty, hot, humid heat. Everything runs, but our cold can
Yeah,
go down
I
to
did
sort
some
of.
time in Alice.
Yeah,
Sorry.
did some time in Alice Springs.
Alice Springs, yeah, I lived in Alice for
Wow.
a couple of years. So that taught me the difference between heat. The heat in Alice was not as oppressive, even though it was hotter for longer because we were at a much higher altitude. People don't realize this, but Alice Springs is 500 meters high.
Yeah,
So the air is thinner, and so the heat isn't as heavy.
you have that big
So
large
it's
rock. What's it? Hulu?
Uluru. Uluru,
Uluru.
yeah.
Wow.
Ayers Rock is the white man's name, but Uluru is the
Wow.
indigenous name. That's
Yes, Uluru.
basically it
I've
is the
seen
heart of
photographs.
Australia.
It gives me chills when I look at it. There's definitely a
Oh,
feeling there.
it's magnificent, but it's actually not as close to Alice Springs as people think. It's a good 6-hour drive.
Ah, okay. But that's the
Yeah,
largeness of Australia.
that is the vastness because there's virtually nothing between Alice Springs and Uluru. And Alice Springs is one of the most isolated cities. So it's not even a city, it's a town because it's smack bang in the middle of Australia. And it's like, 12 hours there, 12 hours there. To get to Perth from there, you have to go down and across or up and around. Yeah.
Wow. It's
People
vast.
underestimate how big. It's
Yeah,
big here.
it is big. Yes. Yes, they do. But no, I've love to have gone, but I only went to the city once. But that was a long time ago. It was just a stopover. We went to
Yeah.
Bali and we went to Indonesia. But yes.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, let's get back
Beautiful.
to sort of where we're at.
Segue.
What you been up to?
Me, I'm juggling these two huge things in my life at the moment, which is palmistry and emotional healing. These are my two passions. Palmistry work has literally been my life's work for the last 30 years. Well, actually longer if you take it back to its origins in my teens. The emotional healing work is what I call my Chiron. It is the work that helped me come off 30 years of antidepressants. So I was on antidepressants that was so strong that they actually needed a government authorization. And what I realized was, or what I had been told all my life was mental health, quotation marks, mental health problems, was actually emotional. It
Yeah.
was emotional problems. It was emotional repression. And when I was finally able to honor and own and release my emotions the way they were meant to, my body actually started rejecting that medication, literally
Right.
rejecting it. So this is much as I'm kind of flipping between one or the other, but I am a 5-planet Libran, so trying to find balance between two things is what I'm good at.
And your moon and your rising?
Okay, so if we're looking at the Placidus, the tropical, the traditional westernized astrology, I am a 5-planet Libran, so Sun dead on Mars with Venus, Pluto, and Uranus. My moon is in Virgo. My rising sign is in Pisces. But the big thing is I've got a North Node MC Neptune conjunction that
Okay.
also has the asteroid Osiris dead bang on it as well.
Neptune motions. Emotions run wild. With Osiris there,
Emotions
you've got, yes, there's an awful lot of shadow
rebuilding.
emotions. That would be an interesting
Hmm.
combination. So your sun sign is what did you say?
Libra. I'm a
Libra.
Libra.
So Libra
Yeah, 5 planet
and
Libra.
and
Eighth house
Virgo,
too.
8th house. Okay.
Five
You've been
planets in my eighth house.
okay. You've been trying to balance up your life all your life.
Here's the trick though. My husband, who I have been with since I was 15, now I'm 50, he
Right?
is also a 5 planet Libran.
Okay. You've been trying to balance. When you balance, you would balance really well. That would be
We
my
do.
interpretation of those. That's it.
My rising is Pisces, my moon is Virgo.
Moon is Virgo. Okay.
Moon is Virgo.
But I have the same sort of balance. My sun sign is
Mm,
Gemini and my moon sign is Scorpio. So I have that light dark balance. So
lovely.
again, looking at duality. So the whole thing
Yes.
is where the duality is on life. But yes, I'm looking at your partnership now, and that would be if he goes out of balance, you've got a problem. He can knock you out of balance.
He, look, people have always sort of said, what's the secret? And it's just simply, we get on. We've got I want to say peaceful. It's not very intense, but then we
Yes.
don't fight, we get pissy. It's the
Okay.
best.
So then, in other words, you don't knock each other out of orbit by intensity.
Not not
Not
really,
anymore.
no, but
Not
he
after.
is
Not
a
after
no. He's
45
a I
years.
mean his Chinese year is he's a rat and I'm a tiger. So it is very cat and mouse, and there's a lot that will tell you that rats and tigers shouldn't get on unless the rat is submissive. So
Yeah.
and he absolutely lets me take the lead.
Okay.
Absolutely lets me take the lead. He's very 12th house. So he's very much
Right.
a support. He's the
Yes.
support.
That's nice. No, in 45
It's
years, you've
beautiful.
made it work. That's impressive.
35. I'm not quite that old yet.
35.
I'm getting there.
35. Okay.
35. Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, my maths.
But no, but it's my
So,
one and only, and our children, our oldest is only 18.
right.
They
So
took their
you
sweet
had a
time.
few years together before children came along.
Oh, absolutely. We were actually told they weren't going to happen. Not naturally anyway, but that was also a reflection of my health at that time because I've had to do some massive, it wasn't just emotional healing, it was the toll it had taken on my physical body. I had done,
So,
it was, well, I mean, I've lost somewhere between 50 to 70 kilograms. Part of that was medication, part of that was just numbing myself out as much
yeah.
as I possibly could because I'm a hypersensitive. I've always been a hypersensitive.
Did you recover from the medication? I imagine that was be those heavy antidepressants.
It took a long time, and I will say that let's put it this way: the mind fog that comes with menopause can be aggravated because of that, but I make it work. That's just
Yeah.
the best thing is again when you're
Balance.
working the energies and the spirits and working those higher vibrations, then it's actually a lot easier. It's trying to focus on logical stuff, analytical stuff, tech stuff.
Tech
You know,
stuff.
those
Yeah.
things that require you putting the pieces together that I can struggle with sometimes, not all the time. I have a wonderful nutritionist.
Okay.
She made so many changes to my diets and my vitamins, and that made a huge difference to me, bringing some awareness to, just how sensitive my body actually is and how much a lot of my restrictions over time or issues I've had come from nutritional, not
Yeah.
looking after myself, realizing that I actually can't take a whole bunch of certain medications and things because they actually triggered depression. So I was diagnosed at 15, 16 with clinical major depressive disorder after a couple of suicide attempts. In my family, we've got a nasty strain of mental health issues that we can trace back a couple of generations. And as to my knowledge, I am the only one who has, quotation marks, broken the curse, actually
Right.
been able to come off the medication because I have done the big, deep inner work. And I've had a few of my family members come to me and go, help me. And I try and they run away because
Yeah.
shadow work.
Yes.
That's
It
the
attracts people, but it repels them at the same time. And a lot of them, it
Mhm.
repels them more than attracts them.
To it. And then they go, and then run away.
I know. I've seen it.
It's sad.
Not
It's
this,
just,
but it's nice that they tried. I suppose that the fact that they start in on it, it's there for them if they
mm.
need it again. That's
Here I am if they need that guidance because it made all the difference. I mean, at 50, I'm healthier now than I was in my 20s, even
that's
with my old lady issues that are starting to come up. I'm still, my blood pressure, my um, blood sugars, my cholesterol, all of these things are better, so much
yeah,
better than they were when I was in my 20s.
yeah. Yes, yes. There's these lady issues.
The beauty of the feminine, I mean, I'm truly honoring and loving stepping into Korin. I absolutely adore that because I always used to say I didn't have an inner child, I had an inner crazy old lady, and I was just waiting to grow into her.
That's a nice way. Yes, I like that. Yeah. So tell me more about your palmistry. Eccentric, of course. Tell me
That's
about the
the
palmistry.
joy of life. Palmistry, okay. Palmistry is an interesting path that I literally got pushed onto by the universe. I I mean, look, my whole spiritual path really started when I was about 5. You're of that same age group as me, so you may remember I actually found Isis through a TV show called The Secrets of Isis. It was a DC, like a TV show that was in that same brand as the old Adam West Batman. There was Shazam, a whole bunch of
Okay.
really camp TV shows, and there was one called The Secrets of Isis. And it was about this librarian who had found this Icean amulet that, as I look at it now, it actually looks more Hathor, but eh. And she turned into an embodiment of Isis or something like that. It was crap. It really was terrible. But it started my obsession with her. It started my connection with her. And this was at the same time that my uncle's wife started calling me the little witch. Now, she was Pentecostal. So
Ah.
the joke was she knew before I did, and she kept trying to pray over me and those sorts. And for me, just like no, 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 no. Now my mum and my stepdad, they are well technically Church of England, but we were never really religious. The term I use for my family is deists.
Mm-hmm.
They have a belief, but they're not anal about it and don't have this strict belief system, never went to church, that kind of deal. But
Yeah.
believe in God in some form, there's something there, that kind of deal. But I had always gone down this esoteric path. And again, when you look at my astrology, I kind of didn't have a choice in the matter. And it's the same with my human design. You look at that, I kind of didn't have a choice in the matter.
Yeah.
So I started on this weird path. At the age of 11, my grandmother gave me a set of tarot cards. This is my mum's mum. Now, she won them in a raffle. There was a raffle at work, and they were a promotional deck from a James Bond movie. I think it was the Live and Let Die James Bond movie. So these were crap cards, absolutely terrible cards. But it started my fascination with the esoteric. Later on, my mum had one of those old Ouija board games from the
Yeah.
70s and 80s. She gave that to me as well, so that started that. Connected in with my partner. I was probably about 15 when he and I got together. Then at 16, we went to a market and I got my palms read. And I really wish knew who this person was because I would love to give them a piece of my mind now. Because at 16, and I was a 16-year-old and I had horrific depression even at that stage,
Okay.
um, they told me that I would never be happy, I would never find love,
I
and
would
I
want to
would
give
be
them a
dead
piece
by
of
the
my
time I
mind
was
too.
30. I'd be dead by the time I was 32. That was what she
Oh,
told me.
expletives. Yes.
And
Ah,
yeah,
that's wrong. That's the
So,
worst type of reader ever.
but the thing is when I went and got a book from the library, which were hard to get in Perth in the 80s, getting spiritual references here in Perth was, we had one bookshop and you had to go into the city. And for a teenager, those books were astronomical to
Yeah,
get anything. So you'd have to
I
go to the
remember.
library, and the library, the books were always gone. They were either out or they were stolen. They hadn't been
Mm.
returned for 2 years or something like that. So it was really hard to find references. And I finally found a palmistry book, and I was looking at my hand and listening, and the book said pretty much the same deal. And so I was just like, well, this is shit. Forgive me. This is terrible. Um, this is a horrible thing. So, okay. And I
It was
kind
a
of
horrible thing.
diddled a little
It's
bit.
a
It
nasty thing to do to a 16-year-old, but I suppose it triggered, it triggered an interest. You're suddenly now
it triggered
interested in
the
palmistry.
in palmistry. So I had this one book that I was able to get, and it was like I said, it validated all the terrible things that she said. So I flipped back to tarot and did a lot more with my tarot. I at that stage too, I was studying. I had studied things like because I was a mathematical person, they got me to do a bit of accounting and admin. That didn't sit well with me. I could sew, so I did a little bit of not fashion design, but what they called apparel, which was like dressmaking, learning how
Mm.
to make clothes from scratch, actually being part of the manufacture process. Realized that it was just something I could do. It wasn't a passion. Went through a whole bunch of different things. Ended up getting a basic admin job, and literally hitting a point again where the depression got the better of me, and I once again tried to commit suicide. I had to stop working. I was then sick for about 3 years. And after a while, and just as I was getting my health back, I threw my hands to the universe and said, "What the hell do you bastards want from me? What do you want? Do I go back to school? Do I go back to what nearly killed me? What the F do you want?"
Yeah.
And within 4 weeks, I basically ended up through a weird series of coincidences connected to a woman who read palms in the Fremantle markets. Now, the Fremantle markets was one of the biggest tourist markets here in Perth. Now, it was all weird coincidences how we connected. My husband at that point delivered a box of candles, I think, to this lady. And she had her tarot cards out, and he just made the comment, "My wife reads tarot." And it's like, "Oh, does she read palms?" And so, well, she's dabbled with it a little bit. And so she called me and said, "Hey, do you want to
Okay.
swap a reading?" And I'm like, "Hang on, you're a professional and I'm just this you want to swap it? Okay, okay." And then she organized it, and then she cancelled, and then she organized it, and then she cancelled. And then she called me back and sort of said, just come into the markets. Come into the markets. I want you to work for me. And I'm like, "But you've not even, we've not
Yeah.
even done anything." She goes, "No, no, no. Everything's telling me it's fine. It's good. Come and see me." And so basically, we did this little exchange, and she's like, "No, you're fine. You have to do palmistry though, because there's already a tarot reader here, so you have to deepen your palmistry. Here's some books, learn it." And then I sort of told her the problems that I had been told by somebody else. And so she goes, "Oh, look, no, no, that's old ideals." She goes, "No, it's not that you can't find love." She goes, your husband proves that. It's that you find it very hard to accept love." And it went bing, that's the gold. There was a block around love and the receiving of love that I couldn't have. You need to learn how to open yourself up and allow yourself to be happy. Bing again. Yes, that works. And then she goes, "No, no, no, your lifeline doesn't end. Look, it's broken." She says, "That version of you had to die, and this version of you
There we
has to be
go.
born." And it
It's
was
all
just
in
like,
the interpretation. What a wonderful lady.
and so it's just like, oh my God, that made perfect sense to me. And this is my path now. I am now, my palmistry is now under the name of evolutionary palmistry. and it is
Right.
designed specifically for the Western world because you cannot take traditional palmistry from rural China or rural India, bring
Mm-hmm.
it into the Western world and have it applicable. Just as we can't take our formats to somebody in rural India or rural China and expect it to work for them. Why? Because lifestyle is different and choice. That is the
Yes.
big thing. The Western world, we have this wonderful thing called choice. So rather than seeing these blocks and obstacles on your palm as absolutes, you've got this thing and you're screwed, it's like, okay, you've got this challenge in your life. This is going to be a hard thing for you to overcome, but with enough work, with enough depth, you can heal this and you can
Yeah.
turn this pain into power. My focus has been on empowerment because when I started working at the Fremantle markets, because again, being a touristy market, we would get people coming off the cruise ships, people coming in from China, from India. And I've had women come to me, literally sit down in front of me and go, please, please help me. I was told. I was
Yes.
told I would never get married. I was told I would never be lucky. I was told I was going to die. I was told I'm going to die at 42. I'm 41. Am I going to die
Yeah.
next year?
So
And I'm
much damage.
looking at their hands going, it's the same. It's the broken lifeline. No, there's an old version of you that is coming to this, and you are going to rebirth as this. And when I went through the different processes of what I saw, they were just like, oh, that makes so much more sense. And it has been my experience that traditional old world readers seem to lack a particular element of ethics and morals. They don't stop to think about the damage a bad reading can do.
Mm.
And this is my big thing. It's like we need to empower. Yes, we need to be honest. We don't want to tell people good things when, there are challenges coming, but there are ways to word it to empower
Yes.
people to face the challenges that they are going to hit. Because if you tell people, look,
I will channel. I will channel the information, but I will not channel it blind. I have to be the sieve. I have to make
Mhm.
sure that it is positive and empowering. I will not channel negativity or anything that is damaging. That's the
Yes,
responsibility of the reader. It's like when
exactly.
when I'm in the flow of things, but I will still have something to guard that flow, to make
Yep.
sure that I am not hurting. It has to be a positive influence. People can be in tears with revelations, but oh, I'm incensed that these people would do such a thing. But I do
It's
recognize
horrific.
it because
Yeah,
yes,
it
you
is.
should
It
never
was a
ever tell somebody they're going to die. You should never. There's ethics involved. You
mm,
frighten the life out of a 16-year-old. That is so wrong.
such a big thing with us that we need to understand that as psychic readers, how much power and influence we have over other people's lives.
Yeah.
Because especially in superstitious cultures, people that
Yes.
live by superstition, they will absolutely make their life decisions based
Yeah.
on what a psychic has told them. And we have to
Yeah.
hold that integrity, that we will not do harm. Like a doctor, do no harm.
Yeah. We have it a little bit worse when you look at the chat lines. The chat lines do it for entertainment only. So
Yes.
basically, your job is to keep them on the line as long as possible to fleece them of minute by minute. And it's
Yeah.
meant to be for entertainment. I'm not entertained because you get a lot of people who are desperate and they're just
Mhm.
desperate for a little bit of comfort, little bit, and it's clawing. Energy is clawing at you. Just give me something that I can latch onto that would give it. It's like a drug for them. And the chat
Yes.
lines, I think these girls and boys that do the chat lines, they double up as sex workers as well, and it's all for fun and games. And it's like, oh, it damages so
They
many
don't
people,
realize.
and I
Either they
can't do
don't
it.
realize or they don't care.
Yes, and
And
so
that
that
it,
is
it
a
it hurts my
Western.
brain.
It hurts everything. I've tried because it's a form of income, and I've tried to do it, but I burn out so quickly. In other words, I'll do 2 or 3 readings and I can't do any more. So you're meant to do at least 10 hours a week. And I will do 2 or 3 readings, and then it's like the pain of just this graspy energy. And you try and
You get it
help.
because you do. You get it from the people that you're working quotation marks for. But the thing with the chat lines is you actually get people at their most desperate.
Yes.
At their most desperate. It's not, oh, I'm wandering through the markets on the week and go, there's a fortune teller. I'll go and get my reading. That's a very different thing to somebody in devastation asking for help, guidance, clarity, and they are needy, so
They've hit
needy
rock
in
bottom,
those
and there's
moments.
only so much I can feed them because I've talked people back from
Mm,
suicide. I'm not trained,
yeah,
well, I wasn't trained in that. That's one of the reasons I went and did counseling. But it's still, it is a Western problem, and it's done by unethical, immoral greed. And that, I don't know the solution to it. I just had to walk away because it hurt too
yeah,
much. And you're doing readings for about, pittance. You're
yeah,
not getting a fair exchange of money from it even. So at the end of the day, but we digress, but it's bad reading, and it's people that are
yeah.
superstitious and at their last on their last legs. And so
Hmm.
yes, psychics have the responsibility to learn how their trade works and the damage that they could do. That's why I went on and learned counseling with it.
This is something I'm a admin for a very large Facebook group that has 400,000 witches in it, and I'm the what they call the director of their readers program. And this is something that every time, because you're only allowed to offer readings in the group if we have vetted you. In other words,
Yeah,
you can't just come in and offer. You have to go through the interview. We need to know who you are. We need to know, what your skills and things are. We need to know whether you're good at what you do and the type of energy you put out. But this is
yeah,
something that for every single reader that comes into our group, it's like ethics. You need to be ethical. You need to understand the power and the influence you can have on somebody's life. People will come to us because counselors haven't worked, psychiatrists haven't worked.
yeah,
That hasn't worked. So they've come to us for perspective, for a different perspective. Now, if you've got a healthy person and you give them something bad, they'll just
yeah,
and walk away. But most people that are in that state are after something. Now, yes, we can get those that just, you can feel them. They want you to just tell them everything is going to be fine. And you've got
yeah,
something inside you going, no, you need to give this person some truth. But that's where we have to be, again, integrity and basically authenticity and compassion and honoring where they are at.
yeah.
And even
The,
sometimes it
the
comes to saying, look, I can't help you. You need to go and see a counselor.
Yeah, person-centered counseling teaches you to have a confidentiality agreement in the beginning so that you
Hmm.
set your boundaries. And it was a very good 3-year training. I'm very impressed with what I learned because it gives you the groundwork to do readings. So, but with counseling terminology. And what's your
Yeah.
Facebook group? Are
The
you
Facebook
taking
group
people?
open to anybody to join. We actually have a family of groups. It's not my group. The lady who runs them, she goes by the name of Freya. It's the main group is Wild Witchcraft. And the sister groups that we have a whole bunch of everything from the Poison Garden, which is our hexing dark magic,
Hmm.
the shadow path, the left-handed path type of thing. So we try to direct anything that's a little bit too shadowy from the main group to that because it gets less resistance. Because, of
Yeah.
course, even in the main group, even though we say respect all paths, you will get people love and light, love and light, love and light, love and light. And we're like, we respect every path here, but you've got to be respectful for cultures and things along those lines. But we also have a couple of fun. They've got the Activists, which is one of their groups as well. They've also got Bitchy Witches, which is just a place to come in and do your thing. Um, they've also just recently started these. sex magic group as well, which is like blood and pomegranates is the other group that we look after. We're not as active as some of the other big groups because we actually have rules and we actually enforce them. So when you ask for witchcraft advice, if you start giving mundane advice, it's like those comments are removed and you are warned. It's like, no, we don't want mundane. There is actually a thing. Assume people have tried all the mundane stuff. They'd come here for witchcraft. But we have like service people who offer services and people who offer their readings and things like myself. But again, everyone is vetted to make sure that
Yeah.
there's no scam artists in the group. So it's very, very well policed and it is very on topic, where a lot of big spiritual and witchcraft groups just tend to be chaos. There,
Yes, they do.
you feel the holding.
It sounds really good. It sounds wonderful. So, which is the one that you would recommend for our listeners to go to?
Start with the big one. The big one is Wild Witchcraft. That's the big
Wild
group.
Witchcraft on
That
Facebook.
Wild Witchcraft on Facebook. Yep. That's that one. I've got a little group, but mine is it's mostly for my audience, my things. Mine's just called Hands On Evolution. It's kind of a pooling for most of my work for my personal business page. My big business page is Evolutionary Palmistry. That's the
Right.
main one. My alternate one is just under my name, which is Korin George. I have a personal page and a business page, but it actually is subbed under one of the names that was given to me by my circle sisters, which is the Heretic Priestess.
Yeah. You can wear that one with pride. Yes.
I like that one. It
Yeah.
actually came. It was born from my my human design, because we were all going through our human design in our circle, and mine showed, because of my numbers, I'm a 5-1, which listed me as the heretic. And so one of the girls popped up with, "Oh, so you're the Heretic Priestess," and it's like, I like that. I'm going to keep that.
Yeah.
And so that's what they started keep calling me, which is it truly is that's where my energy comes from. So yeah, when I threw my hands to the universe, they were like, "Okay, go and read at the markets." And every time I'm just like, she gave me like 4 hours here, and it was once a fortnight, and I'm just like, this isn't. It's a long drive, and blah blah. It's not enough. And just as I was going in to tell her, "Look, I can't do this," before I opened my mouth to say, "Look, I need to stop," she would say, "I need you to do more." Every single time. So it's like, rather than coming in at this time and doing the 4 hours, can you come in at this time and do 8 hours? Okay. And then again, the next time, just like, can you do Saturdays now? You can have half of this day and this day. Um, okay. Then it was like both of these days. Okay. And then the next thing I know, she gave me the whole store. She just gave it to me. She goes, "You can have it. I'm done," and
Ah,
left.
okay. But it's
And
frontline
that is
training, isn't it? It teaches you how to be in the frontline trenches. You have to deal with everybody that comes
oh, not
as
just
speaks
that.
stuff.
I had the bar behind me. So on Friday nights, because this is an old building where the bar was made of wood and whatever, and they had live music on Friday nights and foot stomping and noise and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I learnt in the fire. I absolutely learnt in the fire pit. So whenever one of my clients sort of says, "Can I bring somebody with me?" Oh, I don't. Yeah, no problems. I mean, the one advantage with palmistry is I'm holding their hands. So
Yeah.
I have a direct lock on their energy. I have this
Yeah.
direct line into their energy. So it doesn't matter how many people are standing around. This is the energy that I'm tapped into, because that's the one I'm locked into. So
Yes.
that was that. I worked in the markets until the birth of my first child. I took a little bit of time off for him. Then I tried to go back to the markets and I couldn't do it. Even I had people that were helping me, but I couldn't seem to hold them. They just weren't getting the kind of business that I got. But 3 days, basically in 3 days, I did 30 hours of readings in 3 days. And it was long drives. And with two little kids, I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it anymore. And so I had to pull out of the market. So I then worked from a shop and from this and from that, and ultimately just built myself up to the place where I was just working from home. So I had enough of a turnover and a turnaround that I could just keep going with my personal from home. And as much as I loved that, and every time again, it's just like, oh, I don't know if this is working. I don't know if I should keep doing this. Or work has been drying up. What should I do? What should I do? The next thing I know, I've got a whole bunch of bookings every single time. Every time I questioned my path, the universe was literally like, no, you don't. Here you go. No, you don't. Here you go. And went back on that path. But then I did some shamanic work. I then also trained, I got some more training because, again, I wanted to make sure that I was helping people. I wanted to ensure that the work that I was doing built them up and empowered them and helped them find themselves again. So I did, it wasn't a proper counseling course, but I studied some counseling. I did some hypnotherapy. I learnt meditation facilitation, circle facilitation, life coaching, anything I could get my hands on that would boost my skills to ensure I served. And that's always been, I want to serve to the highest possible good of everyone that crosses my path, because I want to leave them better than they found me.
Yes.
I want to empower them. I want to help guide them. I want to help. Sometimes, yes, it might be a gentle little slap to say, hang on, are you aware that this is what you're doing and this is trapping you and blah, 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 blah. That was my guidance. And what I had also learned along the way was I actually weave really, really powerful guided meditations and shamanic journeys. And this was where I started really falling into the shamanism path in working with spirit and spirit energies. I trained a little bit with a local shaman. Most of it, again, has been what I have read and had to study because, again, here in Perth, Western Australia, not a lot of options. And having to kind of find and form my own path with that as well. But guided journeys, shamanic journeys, guided meditations, I have that natural. I'm an invoker. That's the one thing I did learn through all my witchcraft work and stuff in the past is I invoke, and I'm very, very good at that. So calling in the energies, calling in the deities for guided journeys and whatnot is a natural gift for me. And that was actually here's an interesting, funny story to show just how deep down the rabbit hole I went. I was in a rebirthing workshop held by a different facilitator, and I was working with Hecate. And we basically, it was like, what are we supposed to be doing for our work and where we're supposed to be going. Now, I have tried to write the palmistry book. I don't know how many times because I keep getting people telling me, you need to write a book, you need to write a book, you need to write a book. So what I was trying to do was just write just another palmistry book. So I would start and it would go, this is just the same as everything else that's out there. What's the point? And it goes in the bin. And I would get the push again. So I would do the same thing again. It might be a little bit different. No, it goes in the bin. A little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. Now I'm pretty much decided I'm going down the shamanic journeying path. This is what's calling to me now, blah, 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 blah. I'm in this workshop with Hecate. She is before me. And I'm, what am I supposed to do with my work? What am I supposed to do? And she looks at me and she says, you need to teach and you need to write. And I lost it. I absolutely had a full-blown temper tantrum at Hecate in this journey. I am swearing under the sun. It's like, what the F is the effing point of that? There's enough effing books out there already. There's enough effing courses. F this, F that. Rah, 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 rah. And then she looks at me and she goes, are you finished? And so I just drop my head so humbly and go, yes. And she just goes, because you have to teach your way and palmistry needs to evolve. And I see very clearly evolutionary palmistry. And it's like, oh, okay. So I sat down, this was a few years ago. I sat down, started writing it again. And I was making the changes as I felt I need to. But then I hit the Apollo finger. And I would literally, you should see, I've still got this piece written somewhere, and it's just like Apollo. Why is it even called Apollo? Blah, 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 blah. Ah, that was actually the whole thing that I wrote, and that stopped me writing it for a while. Because the reality I hit at that point was palmistry doesn't need to just be rewritten, it needs to be re-archetyped. Because the Roman archetypes they used to do contemporary palmistry a couple of thousand years ago is misogynistic. That is the only reason you can say, look, the whole hand was named after Roman gods, right? Why is Apollo there? Apollo's Greek.
Mm.
This is our heart. Our ring finger is our heart-aligned finger. It should have been named after Venus. Nothing else makes sense. But because ancient Rome was the cradle of modern patriarchy, they couldn't give a woman that much power. So they renegated her to the bottom of the hand, made it all about physical love, and gave the creative heart expression, the emotional expression of self, the realms of Apollo, which was tenuous at
Yeah.
best. It doesn't make sense. So I'm now in that I'm re-archetyping the hand. Some archetypes will stay the same because they still make sense. Saturn, Mercury, still make perfect sense. Our middle finger, still Saturn. That's the backbone, the structure of our hand. So for it to be Saturn, perfect sense. Our little finger is our outward expression. Mercury, perfect sense. Our index finger is named after Jupiter, which is about leadership and expansion. That might have
Mhm.
worked a few hundred years ago. But when we look at mythology and the energy and the flow of our hands now, leadership is no longer acquired by inheritance. Leadership is acquired by action. This is pretty much our spear of Mars. You
Okay.
think
Yeah.
about it, we can curse just by pointing with enough intent and enough focus, put enough
Yeah.
energy, putting that energy in, it is our spear of Mars. A child wants to express something. I want that. It is the
Mm.
expression of will,
Yes.
natural expression of will that makes this finger far more aligned to Mars than it does to Jupiter. Jupiter is the energy beneath it that fuels that expression, but the actual expression itself is Mars, just like our ring finger is Venus. Why do you think we put a ring on it? This is our feminine, our heart-aligned finger.
Well, because the meridian line goes through that. I'm an acupuncturist. My degree is in Chinese medicine, and the heart line goes through the middle finger, so it connects actually to the heart in acupuncture. So that's how I know the energies from the fingers rather through Chinese medicine. But that's fascinating. I do agree with you on the Mars one. That's yes. People wave their
Yeah.
fingers around.
The thing we point and we focus and we put it's again, it's the
Yeah.
fire of our intent behind us. Now, our whole hands are aligned to our hearts. Because if you open out your arms, where are your arms plugged into? Which chakra point?
Yes. The heart's a microcosm of the whole thing. There's the hands.
Yeah,
So just like you've got
the
ear
hands.
acupuncture, you've got the whole in your ears and your feet with reflexology. But yes, it's I suppose. But the hands are a very, very minor chakra, and yet it's one that we use quite a lot. In Reiki, they activate the
Mm,
hands chakra.
the hand chakra.
So,
When I do a
ha-
lot of my journeying and work and such, I will always get people to use their hand chakra to help manipulate their energies. Then
yeah,
there's a lot of the talk about the different, minor chakras that are connected to each of the fingers. But again,
yes,
to me, they're
not-
still just continued extensions of the heart. They are heart extensions and heart expressions of something else, because this is how we interact with our world. Our fingers are our antennas. They are the first
yeah.
contact we make with everything, and how we absorb and interpret that energy through our fingers. It's just so powerful, and it has been, again, there's a lot of misinformation that doesn't make sense. And as much as I love the feminine energies and the feminine mysteries, we need to bring some logic back to this as well, because that's how it will last, when we
Yeah.
bring that logic back into it. And
And
that's where
structure.
I'm trying to, archetype. Yes,
Yeah.
archetype to help you understand how the energy flows, but it is bringing back that logical structure to go, okay,
Yeah.
so it makes sense again. When I was learning palmistry, I never could remember Jupiter and Venus. Sorry, Jupiter and Apollo, because it should have been Venus. I could never remember them. Saturn, I could remember. Mercury, I could remember. But I could never remember those other two. And that to me was, again, a sign for it needed adjusting. It's like
I
the
think
center of your
also
palm.
misinformation loops. It's like the whole thing was made to discredit it because there was misinformation loops. I found that in a lot of these things, is that yes,
Yeah.
there is some really, really deep power to be found in these modalities, but because they've been like warped a little bit. We have the sort of the Abrahamics warped them, some of the mystery schools warped them. It was like it started off from Rome, which means that there would have been a political aspect that would have warped them as well to make them more appropriate to one school of thought or the other. So
Well, it was an
putting, yeah, putting what did you say? Apollo in charge of love does not make sense. That sounds like a very, very misinformation.
toxic masculine.
Yes, well, he was twin to Artemis, and basically he was
Yeah.
a total asshole. So yes, it wouldn't make
Yep.
sense.
No, it doesn't. And it's the same thing with the center of the palm. You know, this is supposed to be our field of Mars, and the logic behind it made no sense whatsoever. So in evolutionary palmistry, the center of your palm is Hecate's crossroads,
That
because
would
that
make more
makes so
sense.
much
Yes,
more
well, of course
sense.
it is. Of course it
Of
is.
course, of course it is. I mean, considering she put me on this path, she has to be the center of it. But it is. It's where our power is contained. Again, it's the center of the chakra. So it's the energy point that we can tap into in our
Yeah,
hands. And it's where the lines meet. It's where our paths can meet and cross. Of course, it makes sense that it's Hecate's crossroads. So it's these little things that will just bring it back, but back into sort of making sense, but aligning it more with the archetypes, but also using a few more pantheons, which gives us a little bit more authenticity in it, which it
yeah,
also to me is a reflection of the modern world where we blend, the best of the olds to create something new. But the biggest issue that palmistry had was we almost lost westernized palmistry completely with the rise of Christianity and monotheism. It was actually some Islamic
Was it the Sufis?
I think it wasn't so much the Sufis, but it was their scholars and things like that that actually found it and breathed life back into it and brought it back in. So again, there's
Probably.
this other element now of masculinity that has taken
Yeah,
over it. And we don't see a lot of feminine in the palm at all. The only relegations was Venus, who was relegated down the bottom, and then the moon, which is also
yeah,
down the bottom. It's just, I will just tuck them down the bottom there.
yes,
Tuck the little bit of feminine down the bottom. So this is one of the big things for me, is to basically to recreate it, to re-archetype it, which has been a real challenge, but this is what the universe is calling me to do. But also to bring it into a thing where you can look at your hands and go, why am I having so much difficulty with this? Okay, I've got this block. What does that mean? Okay, it means this is something that I need to work through. It's like having a difficult aspect in your astrology. It doesn't mean you can't. It means this is your lessons. These are your
yeah,
challenges. This is where your healing is.
yeah. That makes sense. Okay, so let's move to you have a workshop, or what?
Yes.
What are you
Okay,
doing?
so the emotional healing workshop I do, I absolutely love. This was an interesting experience that was born from a soul connection that came online with somebody that I met through just a weird little gaming thing. It was a weird, just a weird little gaming thing. This particular guy was kind of a lost soul, but he found a lot of comfort in just talking to me. So we would just talk from time to time. He was one of those, he had no one. Literally, he was an invalid. He was in a wheelchair. He'd had so many health problems, but he and I used to talk music and spirituality and all these sorts of things. Through my connection with him, I aligned with, or the energy of the wolf woke up in me. And I don't even know how it ultimately came about, but through the connection with him was born just a little workshop that I had that we called Howl at the Moon. And it is
Okay.
an emotional release workshop where we talk through the true and authentic power of our six core emotions, the six core emotions and the life-saving features that each of them have when we honor them and allow the energy to flow freely. Now, Howl at the Moon is a regular little event that I do. It's an online event, which I do as often as I can get enough people to be interested to do it, because it's a very hard thing to do to an empty room. Where we work through the core emotions. I teach you about each of the aspects of them. We talk about their organic sound, because each of our core emotions has an organic sound, and how we are meant to release them, because we've been taught to keep our emotions quiet. Be quiet. Don't upset people. And so it's got nothing to do with how upset you are, but don't upset people. And we are we're born into this world knowing the language of emotions. And
Mm.
emotion is the universal language. If you see a small child crying, you know they are distressed. If you see them angry, you know that there is something that's not right there. If you see them disgusted, then you know something is unhealthy. If they're scared, there is something dangerous to them. You know, each of these emotions has a meaning, something that is important, but we are told to bypass them. From an early age, we are taught to ignore them. And it can be as simple as a child coming to their mother going, "Who's crying? Mum's crying." The child goes to mum, "Mummy, are you okay?" And mum goes, "I'm fine, darling. No, I'm fine. I'm
Yes.
fine."
Yes.
And so that child has just learnt to ignore what you see and feel and trust what you have been told. And it puts them at odds with themselves. This is our universal language. This is the language of all humans. There are still cultures today. You see the grieving, the wailing women, following a funeral procession.
Yes.
They will drop to their knees in the street and scream. That is how we're supposed to grieve.
My culture is one of the most repressed emotionally on the planet, and we're really good at
Yes.
repressing emotions. We don't even know how to show it when it's important. So, 100%, we
Most
need to howl at the
Look,
moon.
Aussies are just as bad with it too. But we've been taught this. We've been taught if you want to be an evolved human, if you want to be a high vibration human, you need to repress all of this. Push it down, just rise above it, just rise. Don't let it get to you. How toxic and bypassing is it though?
Mm.
How toxic and bypassing. It ends up being "Oh, don't do that. You're making me upset." Not "Oh,
Yes,
you are upset. How can I support you?" But now you're making me upset. Don't be so selfish. Look at you. You're making me
I
feel
know.
bad.
It's
And been
yeah,
told that you're the one being selfish.
yeah. It is a common thing. So you do your howl at the moon how often?
Moon, I try to do it once or twice a month, but it will
Yeah,
depend upon my audience. It does rotate a little bit because I try to catch as many different time zones as I want, as I
yeah,
can. If I have people say to me, "Oh, look, I can't make those times," it's like, tell me when you can, and I will schedule something in that time block because I want to get it to as many people as I want. I love I love doing this online. I do have a paid now. I will say, Howl at the Moon is free. It is a
yeah.
free experience.
Where do
This
you
is not
find
a
where do
work.
you find the free one? The free one is found
Okay,
on Facebook?
You can find me on Facebook and get the links there, or you can go to my Podia site, which is koringeorge.podia/Howl.
Okay, can
So
you give me all those links so that I can put them in the
yes,
so send me an email with all of those links in
all those
that
links
we can add
will
to
do.
this.
But yeah, but Howl at the Moon is just literally, it is a free workshop, and it is not it's not one of these mind master classes or things like that where you get nothing. It's like you go into these master classes and you leave with more questions than you started with. This, and I want to say, it's actually more a sacred circle or a sacred space. You can come to this as often as you need to, Howl, because let's face it, life happens, emotions build up. You can't
Yeah.
always express them in the moment. I mean, let's face it, you can't walk into your work and your boss starts laying into you. It's not a good idea to roar or punch them in the head. I don't
Verbally or
recommend those
otherwise.
things.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's there are always going to be situations where we kind of have to pack away our emotions in modern society. We have to. That's just what it costs to be civilized. But everything that's been packed has to be unpacked, or it
Yes.
will leak out at the worst
Oh,
possible moment.
oh,
Because we've all been there. So this is something that I say with Howl, you get immediate release. Immediate. It is an immediate release. You will walk away feeling lighter. I've had clients say it's done more for them than years and years of therapy, because you can know it in your head, but if you can't release it from your body, it's still stuck. The energy
yes.
is still stuck. And
You've done
so Howl at
rebirthing.
the Moon,
So rebirthing was the same. You've got to breathe out the stuck emotions. So yes, you come from that
exactly.
background. Yeah.
You have to
It's
let go whatever has basically it's somatic vocal release. That is what
yeah.
Howl at the Moon actually is. This is not just screaming into the void. There is
That's
purpose
fun
and
too.
intent behind it. Yeah, that's fine. But the beautiful idea of Howl is this is a held and witnessed space. It starts with a guided meditation to weave the collective, to weave the web that connects together the pack, because emotions are pack animal language. Animals that live in packs express emotions in order to communicate with the rest of the pack. That is the original purpose. It was to tell our pack what we were experiencing and what we needed from them. Whether they
Yeah.
needed to be on alert, whether they needed to be worried about the fear, whether they needed to be worried about the disgust, whether they needed to be worried about our anger, whether they needed to come and comfort us in our sadness. We all animals, pack animals, express emotions,
Yes,
and
we
it
do.
needs to be expressed as a pack. And so I hold this space. So you actually have a held energetic place to come to release, to connect into the rest of the pack. After we have worked through the 6 core emotions, because our 6 core emotions are guilt,
Yeah.
sadness, joy or happiness, anger, um, fear, and disgust. They are our 6 cores. Now, guilt, guilt and fear are the two that will block more than anything else, particularly guilt when it goes into its toxic shadow, which is shame.
Hmm.
Shame is the one that has been weaponized against us in particular to keep our emotions small.
Yes.
Now, my actual paid workshop is one called Awaken Your Wild Voice. And this was born because we noticed doing Howl, people find emotions that they can't express. Even in a safe and held environment, even working through the process, people will say, I had a really hard time expressing that emotion, or they couldn't express it, or that emotion is stuck because there is layers of conditioning, usually coming down to shame.
Yeah.
And that is what Awaken Your Wild Voice is for. It is a deep dive into emotional healing, healing back the layers of shame that keep us silenced, rebuilding our relationship with self, clearing out the toxicity of old emotions as society has taught us, and reconnecting to our true wild voice.
Sounds
My
amazing.
favorite my favorite saying is we don't howl to lose control. we howl to get it back. We
Mm.
howl to reclaim control, because once you have moved that energy through you, you can stop and go, one, okay, now what do I do? Now it's
Yeah.
out. I can think clearly. Now I know what my body needs. What is the right movement forward from this? So this is the deep work. In Howl at the Moon, it's full, the full workshop. We also do a wolf journey, which will connect you to your inner wolf spirit, connect you to the power of the pack, connect you to your moon. This is something that we do, and then through Awaken Your Wild Voice, there are 4 guided shamanic journeys. The first one is to connect to your inner, and to not just connect to, but to create and build your inner sanctuary and connect into your inner soul guardian, the one who, that perfect version of yourself that we all have inside of us, but we often lose. So it's like our high soul forms. We can connect into that. The second journey is literally soul retrieval, where we
Yeah.
heal, reconnect with, and especially our wounded inner child parts, and bring them back home to self. The third journey we go through and we purify the emotions. We remove the toxic elements of it and we purify it. And the fourth one is to connect in to your wild animal voice. We all have our wolf, but through this one, specialized animals just for the participants come through. And we've had everything from bears and eagles. One of our women had a hyena, which I thought was absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
Loud birds as Australian kookaburras and things like that come through. So it really gives people that ability to connect to that wild part of themselves. Again, not to lose control. People think, oh, you're just going to stand there and scream. And no, it's to get it out so you can get your control back. And as
I like
powerful and
hissing.
as beautiful.
A cat can hiss, and
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
just the whole empathy of the cat in that pose is disgust, it's anger, it's frustration. It all comes out in that hiss, And it's just that one thing. So yes,
This is one of the reasons, though, that we do the wolf and we actually use the wolf howl, because some emotions we can't find words for, because emotions are meant to be felt and released, not intellectualized and verbalized into formed words. Sometimes just when you're really frustrated can
yes,
make all the difference in the world. And people look at you funny and go, "Are you okay?" And it's like, "I am now."
I am now. I've hissed. Yes.
Now I've gotten that energy out of my system. I'm good. That actually feels really good. And this is also the reason why Howl at the Moon is an ongoing workshop, because a wolf doesn't just howl once. We can release all the emotions that we have bottled up inside us, go out and deal with someone in life, and it's just like, oh, and it's like, oh, I should be better by now. And it's like, no, you're human. That pissed you off. You are
Yes.
allowed to be angry. You are
Yes.
allowed to be frustrated. You are allowed to feel. Yes, it's
Mm,
probably not good to scream at that particular person, but you need somewhere that you can go and let that energy go.
yeah.
And that's why Howl is going to be this ongoing. I see it as kind of my community service, and I'm happy to keep doing it as long as I've got people who want to be in
I
that
think I'm going to
space.
have to sign up to your howl. That sounds good.
But this is one of my favorites, though, and I'm so excited about this. I've actually been asked to do Howl at the Moon. I've actually got a ritualized version of Howl at the Moon for a women's festival here in Perth called Sisterhood Rising, and we are doing Howl at the Moon Bone Song, which is an ancestral ritualized howl. So we are going to be releasing the the energy from our ancestors, because it's
Wow.
not just us; it's in our whole line that
Yeah.
this has been stopped and repressed, and especially because this year's festival is over the Halloween weekend. It's
Okay.
actually the Dios de los Muertos weekend, and that is the theme of
Yeah.
this year's festival. We are going into ancestral healing this year.
Oh,
So
sounds
that's Howl
amazing.
at the Moonbone Song. There is
Okay, so
nothing like a howl in a live circle.
no, that I can only imagine. I think something. Yes, going to have to teach me how so I can learn.
Oh,
But
look, this is one of the things, my biggest goal, I would love to train a whole bunch of facilitators to go out and hold these circles in their environment. Because as much as I love holding this online, physical circles, there is
yeah,
nothing like it.
I
Nothing
can
like it.
see it down at Avebury with the Druid Circle down there. It would be quite
Oh, they'd love
interesting.
it.
Yeah,
This is what our ancestors used to do. This is
yeah,
what they used to do
exactly.
through their stories. They would gather around fires and whoop and holler and make all of those noises because they knew. They knew we needed to make noise.
Okay, so I've got to focus. I've got questions, right? And then we bring it to an end. Okay, so
Oh,
the first question is basically what do you see the source energy? What is your source of your energy and your power? Where do you've mentioned archetypes, but archetypes can be a psychology thing. So you've mentioned also the universe said, and the universe sort of provides. How do you see your universe? How do you see your source?
this is a really, really interesting question because when I talk to my guides at depth about this, the usual answer they give me is it doesn't matter. That's usually the thing. It's like it's beyond your human comprehension, so stop worrying about it. And a good example of that is yes, I use the term archetypes because saying that I work with all of these deities upsets a lot of people, especially people who are very gatekeeping in their work with deities. Oh, you can't work with that deity and that deity. You can't work with that deity and that deity. You can't work with that one and 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 that one. You can't have these together on your altar. You can't do this. You can't do that. And it's like, tell them. Tell the divine that I can't do that because that's the way they want me to work with them. That is just the way it tends to work. As to the source and all of it, I don't give a huge amount of contemplation into that. I'm on this level. I work with the next levels up. What's beyond that is beyond my human comprehension. The actual bright spark of the universe is a little beyond my that's just the way my energies and my deities work with me. That's beyond my comprehension. Whether you want to call them gods or goddesses, whether you want to call them divine archetypes, whether you want to call them just psychological archetypes or whatever, when I ask them, they keep saying it doesn't matter. We get so caught up with labels and names that we end up fighting over them. And at the end of the day, it is the energetic and the gift. And so I have people tell me that I can't have Isis and Kali both on my altar at the same time. Well, I do. I've had people tell me that I can't work with Isis and Frigg at the same time. Well, here's news. Isis helped me heal my wounds with Frigg.
Yeah.
Now, whether you see them as the same entity in different faces of them or whether they are two separate entities, I go down this rabbit hole and I keep getting it doesn't matter. And I've been given a few different visions, and one of the things that the divine showed me was let's take the Archangel Michael. Okay. His imagery and his symbolism is very, very similar to Apollo, to Horus, the younger god.
Yep.
To uh, names a thing to there's one in Norse, there's the Celtic, there's the South American ones that you can never pronounce. They are all the same.
Lu and sun gods.
Yeah,
Lu, the sun god. Yes.
yeah.
Tyre.
Gold, blue, music, protection, gold, blue, music, protection.
Yeah.
This was the theme through these entities. Why do they have different names and faces? Because if Archangel Michael in his Christian form turned up to a Viking in his Christian form, the Viking would go alien, kill it. If it would turn up to an Egyptian in his Christian form, alien, kill it.
Mm.
So he has to be, Christian to the Christians, Egyptian to the Egyptians, Norse to the Vikings, Celtic to the Celts. That, to me, again, makes sense. But they're different flavors and different aspects. And sometimes if I want to do this, then I will connect into Isis. But if I want to do, all mother type work, then I actually need Frigg rather than Isis. But when I lean into Frigg, she has a little bit more of a cool energy to her. Isis has a bit more of a warm energy to her. Are they the same or different faces? I truly don't know. But again, every time I ask them, they go, it doesn't matter. Use what works. It's the amount of times, Hecate told me off, but I've been told I can't work with her unless I do this, and this. My biggest issue with a lot of this spirituality is people telling you how you can and can't connect to the divine. Those obstacles are human created. And a lot of the time, it's, in other words, to make those humans feel more important. Oh, no, you can't talk to my deity unless you do all of these things and unless you are ordained by this and unless you're doing that. So, great. Tell them. And we see this so much.
Yes, it's a good answer. Definitely a good answer. But okay. So where do we get hold of you? Facebook? Korin George?
Korin George, I'm on Facebook. You can also find me, my big website is just evolutionarypalmistry.com. That's an easy one. You can find me there.
Evolutionarypalmistry.com. Yeah.
.com.
So you'll find links in the description, and I'll make sure that those are all done. Please, could you email me all of them? And right.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much, and please come back.
Pleasure.
Please come back and have another chat. Okay,
anytime.
So
I'm sure you and I could talk people's ears off about a whole bunch of different things.
I certainly could. Yes, there's lots of subjects here.